Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPENN.com. I'm your host, Cole Sean, episode 83. We got a good lineup ahead of UFC 57, Vegas 57, BKFC 26, and Bellator 282. We're first going to be joined by Jimmie Rivera, who's set for his BKFC fight, his first fight against Howard Davis in the co-main event. This is a really intriguing matchup. Obviously, Jimmie finally making that move to BKFC. Really good chat with Jimmie. But why he wanted to go there in this fight, Howard Davis, professional boxer, he's 6'2", 77-inch reach. Jimmie Rivera is 5'4", 68.5-inch reach. So the size advantage is going to be very interesting to watch in this one. But Jimmie believes his technique and his footwork will be a big difference in this one, allowing him to get inside. And he also talked about how Chad Mendes kind of turned him down. That was a fight BKFC wanted. Chad Mendes wasn't interested. Chad wanted to fight that rapper guy in his debut. I think that was Jimmie believes that was to just get an easy win, and he's hoping that fight does come to fruition sometime in BKFC. We're then going to be joined by Chris Curtis to preview his fight, Adolfo Vieira. This is a really fun fight. Chris basically laid it down. He goes, this fight ends the first round, I get submitted. After that, I knock him out in the second round. He thinks Vieira has 5 minutes of gas tank. He knows the first round is going to be very dangerous. It just says it's been a lot of takedown defense this camp, but he's confident he can keep it standing, then eventually find that knock in the second round. We're then going to be joined by Danny Sabatello, who's one of my favorite interviews, fighting Leandro Higo in the quarterfinals of the Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix. If he wins this, he fights Patchy Mix for the inter belt, and he does not think either of these guys are good. Danny went on a rant, just kind of chirping all the guys in the Grand Prix. Doesn't think many of them are that good, and I always like talking to Danny. He's very honest, and he had some very violent words for Jornell and for Leandro Higo, sorry, and how he kind of thinks this one's going to play out. We're then going to be joined by Christos Iagos to preview his fight at UFC Vegas 57 against Thiago Moises. This is a kind of a really intriguing matchup. Christos and Thiago both trying to get back into the win column in a big way. Iagos coming off that knockout loss to Arman Sarukian, who's actually headlining this card back in last September. Thiago, back-to-back losses, knockout loss to Joel Alvarez last November, and a submission loss to Islam Makhachev. Both these guys are trying to prove they can be top 15 guys, so this is a crucial fight for both of them to win. We're then going to be joined by Mario Bautista to preview his fight against Brian Kelleher at UFC Vegas 57. Mario talked about how this one's a bit of short notice, but he was in camp helping his main training partner in Sean O'Malley get ready for his July 2nd fight. So it's kind of perfect timing for him to get in there, get a big win over a well-known guy in Brian Kelleher, and start moving up these bantamweight ranks. And then we close things out talking to Vanessa Demopoulos about her fight against Jay Frey. I always like talking to Vanessa. She has a crazy story, as everyone kind of knows, full of energy, and she's looking to build off that and start really showing that she's a legit contender in this strawweight division. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by Jimmie Rivera, who finally has a fight booked. Jimmie, how's it going, man?
It's going well, man. I can't complain. How about you?
I'm doing well. I just want to start there. Been a long time. You were released from the UFC, signed with BKFC, the postponed fight. How excited are you now that you're just a couple weeks away from finally getting back in there?
It's a relief, man. I've been trying to get in and fight forever. I had, Triller fell through the whole event, and then my opponent fell out for my debut for in May. So it's just good to get in. I guess third time is the lucky charm, So it feels good to finally get back in and get a fight. I just want to get in there and compete as much as I can.
What has this last year been like for you? Because it was kind of a whirlwind. You get cut from the UFC, and then, or I don't know. I think you might have fought out your contract, and then you get the Triller thing that kind of falls apart. Then you get the BKFC. What has this past year been like for you?
It's been a little frustrated, a little long, but it's got to be patient when you're a free agent and see your options. And I mean, now that I'm down to the wire and got to fight in 4 weeks, I'm excited finally. This past month and a half, super excited that I have a fight. I have an opponent that's willing to fight me. That he's tough. He's not. I don't think he's pulling the injury card at all. He's gonna show up, which is great. And it's just good to be back in the ring. In cage, out in the ring. Let's just get back competing.
Oh, what drew you to sign with BKFC?
BKFC offered a great contract where I could do both. On top of doing both, I was able to, what I mean by both, I could do bare knuckle, but if I want to do MMA too as well, they wouldn't hold me back from it. and they had a game plan for me walking in. You know what I mean? This is who you're gonna fight, and if you win this fight, it's the title fight next, and then after that, besides that, let's say, the numbers they gave were really really good, so I couldn't say no to that either because at this point in my life, I also want to get paid and take care of my family, but I also want to win another belt. Obviously, it was tough in the UFC, especially when I was first in there going 5-0, and then still having to wait for a title fight. It was tough. It was hard to swallow. Waiting so long to get a fight. Nothing against the UFC or anything like that. But at this point, I love coming into bare knuckle, and they already have a game plan for me, and they know this is what we want you to do. If you win it, we'll go this way. If you don't win, then we'll figure out what's next from there. But the biggest thing is I'm not looking not to win. I'm looking to win, and especially get a title shot next after that.
I've talked to a lot of former UFC fighters that have gone to BKFC. They all kind of say the same thing about how much they enjoy training now. Like, is that the same for you, where it's a lot more
Yeah,
fun training for BKFC than MMA?
for sure. I mean, you got to think about it. As an MMA fighter, we got to train boxing, kickboxing, wrestling on the wall, jiu-jitsu, MMA, ground and pound. We have to do all that. Now I'm just doing BKFC. I'm doing boxing, but I still haven't left the whole aspect of doing MMA. You know what I mean? That's not like done. That door hasn't shut yet. So I'm still gonna do something. But the last, I want to say 6-7 months of just training boxing, it's felt really good to be able just to focus on one attribute of martial arts compared to all 5 or 6 of them, whatever you want to count it.
With BKFC, like for the training, like are you starting to take off the gloves when you train, or are you still using boxing gloves and it's kind of gonna be how you see in there? Like, how do you kind of go about doing that?
Just a lot of stuff with the MMA gloves, with the practice gloves. I mean, that's resemblance what the bare knuckle is. I mean, the one thing you look for is you want to pick the right shots. You don't want to hit the top of the head or something like that. So a lot of it was with the MMA gloves. I've been working, hitting the bag with just wraps on so I don't tear up my knuckles. Just little things like that. People have their little traits and stuff like that. I've been around for a while. I mean, I have a tattoo on my hand. I was explaining this the other day. I have a tattoo on my hand. They say that the hand's the most painful spot to get a tattoo. Well, my tattoo artist was like, "How you doing? How you doing?" Like, every 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, "I'm great." And all his other colleagues and stuff like, "How you doing, man?" And I'm like, "I'm good." I'm like, "Cause it's supposed to be one of the most painful spots, and I have such messed up nerves or nerve damage in general in my hand that I didn't like it hurt like 2 times out of the whole tattoo. It was one of the most least painful tattoos. They say your hand, top of your foot, because of the bones, and then your ribs. And I have my ribs and the top of the hand. I can tell you, if I had to get another tattoo on my other side of my hand, I would do it no problem. Like it did not hurt one bit.
And then with BKFC, like 2-minute rounds, like how much do you think that's going to benefit you? Where for your whole career you've been pacing yourself to go 5 minutes, so now to kind of only go 2 minutes probably changes the way you fight.
It goes really freaking quick. I'll tell you, the 2 minutes go really quick. So it's definitely a change. It, I mean, 2-minute rounds was like reminding me back when I used to fight amateur and kickboxing. I mean, that's what it was. It's not even MMA. MMA was like 3 minutes. Amateur kickboxing was 3 2-minute rounds. So it's good. I mean, can you do more in bare knuckle? You could, but there's a lot of damage to take. I think that's one of the biggest things. You don't even have to get caught with a hard shot. Just the fact that it's the bare knuckle and it'll cut you open quick. When I was at the fights in Orlando May 6th, when I was supposed to fight, I watched a lot of fights. Most of the fights ended just because the guy was cut so badly that they had to stop and the fight. The doctor came in and stopped it.
And with it too, like you kind of mentioned earlier, like how it's about being smart too and picking the right shots. Like, is that something you've had to do in training where it's not just about volume because you don't want to be landing on the top of the head or in some bad spots that hurt your hand?
Yeah, for sure. There in the beginning there was a couple times like, oh, if I would have did that with a bare knuckle, that would have sucked. So definitely been training that. Been working on a game plan. I'm fighting Howard Davis. He's a tall guy, tough. So he's definitely got a reach on me. So I'm working on game plans of dealing with the reach. Besides that, it's typical training, sprinting, hitting the bag. Just everything's just boxing right now. Footwork and stuff. I mean, we've always done the same stuff. Now I'm just emphasizing it on more and working on it more.
And your opponent, Howard Davis, like how familiar were you with him when you got the call?
I actually, I kind of knew in a way, like it was going to be between, it had to be between Howard Davis. I don't think he was going to give me anybody else, Dave. And I was, measuring him out. I saw him at Orlando. He was at the fights, and I was checking him out. I mean, it says he's 6'2", but I don't know if he's really 6'2". He could be. You know what I mean? I didn't get to stand up next to him, but I watched his fights. He's a tough opponent. He's got a good reach. Smart fighter. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a tough fight. He's his number one ranked guy at 145. So I'm not coming in with some schmo. I'm fighting the real deal. I'm not fighting like Chad Mendes, some rapper dude or whatever. I'm fighting someone that has experience that's good. I wish it was for the belt, but I get it. It's my debut. I can't fight for the belt right off the back. I got to earn my way there. So I'll earn my way there and eventually fight for it.
How difficult do you think that will be, like getting through his size and reach?
I don't know, man. I'll tell you that night after the
Yeah.
fight.
You kind of mentioned it there too, like Chad Mendes, he fought like the famous guy, some rapper. Like, were you ever offered anyone like that, like one of those easier fights, or did you want like the toughest guy right
No,
away?
I had. Well, it's not that I want. It's whatever they give me.
Yeah.
That's not how matchmaking works. Sometimes you get three opponents. Like I was in the UFC, I got three opponents, but the one opponent was a tough fight and he was ranked, and the guys weren't ranked. I was like, yeah, I want the ranked guy. I want to get in the rankings. So I always took the hard fight because I wanted to move forward. So the first opponent was supposed to be Dat Nangu. I don't know how you pronounce the last name. He got hurt and they couldn't find a replacement, and Howard was the next option, I guess, from that. So
How do you kind of see it playing out then?
listen, I'm trying to get the finish, but it could come down to a techno fight or it could come down to a straight like stand in the pocket brawl. I don't know how it's gonna be until I fight that. Once a round starts. I mean, it all depends on how Howard is gonna fight. If he's gonna, keep the distance and run the whole time, then probably it's gonna be a techno fight. If he's gonna stay in the pocket, then we're gonna bang. It's gonna be really, really exciting fight. It all depends on how my opponent is. If someone's running and keeping distance, you can't run after them. You got to be smart about it. So it all depends on what Howard shows up.
Yeah, so obviously Howard has the more like bare knuckle and boxing experience, but you have obviously a ton more fights. Like, do you think that experience is gonna play much of a factor for him, or do you think just because you have so much fighting experience that kind of limits it?
Um, I don't know what experience he has because sometimes these guys are pro boxers and they have like 100 amateur fights, so I'm
Mhm.
not really sure how that's going to play out. Um, but again, yeah, I might have some more pro fights with him, but I'm not like a new person to boxing. I've been boxing my whole life, so I'm pretty seasoned, and I box some really good guys in training in general, not even people from our team, just professional boxers from different areas around us to help us get better with our boxing. So um, I can't tell you. You know what I mean? I really can't tell you. I'm not really sure. I've only seen his bare knuckle fights and whatever I could find besides that. So we'll see.
And then we kind of talked about earlier, like you get the win here, it's title shots. Like, what is kind of the goal for you this year? Like, is it to get a couple fights in this year after missing so much time?
Yeah, I want after this fight, I want to get at least 2 or even 3 more fights in, whether it's with bare knuckle or do MMA fight, whatever it is. But that's the goal. I wanted to be busy. I want to try to get 3 to 4 fights a year. This year kind of got me in a slump. I was supposed to fight February and then May. I'm finally fighting in June, so I got pushed back so much that it was, it was the frustrating part where you have an opponent and then it gets canceled. You have an opponent, he gets hurt. It's a frustrating when that happens, but it happens in a career. Just kind of have to roll with the punches and keep moving forward.
I know when you and Chad signed, a lot of people thought that would be a big fight that they would do. Do you think that's one that will eventually happen in bare knuckle?
Only if he accepts it. I was told that he didn't want it. So that
Oh,
was supposed to be his debut fight, as far as I was told by my management, and he turned down the fight. So I said, all right. I mean, can't blame him. I wouldn't want to fight Jim Rivera either. But yeah, that's what I was told. So will it happen? I can't really tell you. I think if I was Chad Mendes, he came off a big knockout. I would be looking for the belt, maybe the winner of this fight, or maybe they give him one more fight and then he fights for the belt. I don't know.
yeah, it's because like you guys are similar size, like both big names in the UFC. Like he even fought at featherweight, so you'd think he might be a bit bigger than you. Like I don't see why it wouldn't happen. Like, but then again, like you never know with him. But it would be such a big fight. Like, I think it's the biggest fight, one of the biggest fights BKFC could put on.
Hey, maybe you could promote it. I don't know. I mean, I can always call him out. I don't mind doing that. I was looking forward to him as the first fight, and you know what? We'll have to see, man. You know what I mean? At this point now, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, sometimes when you're trying to fight the fights you want that are big fights, those people don't want it, and the people that want to fight you are the people that are not really going to help you or help your name. So it's one of those, you know, catch-22. So I guess we'll see what happens and go from there. And I got to figure out, you know, get on the mic a promo or something. What am I going to say too as well?
Just a couple more things. Like, you mentioned how MMA is not out of the picture. Like, have you talked to any of the other big promotions, or is that just gonna kind of see what happens after this fight?
You know, I let Malcolm, my manager, handle it all. We spoke while I was free agent. We spoke to PFL, we spoke to Bellator, we spoke, you know, to Bare Knuckle. There was something else that we spoke to too as well. I don't remember. It might have been Eagle FC or something like that. I kind of just let him get the deals rolling and see where it would be the most bang for my buck, and you know, who had the best game plan of me coming in and what they were expecting from me. So with the MMA, I'm not sure. I think after this fight, we'll sit down and speak and figure something out and go from there. Even if it's a one-off or something, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I can't tell you more. We'll see what happens, and hopefully, you know, whatever it is I want to do, even if it's a boxing fight and they get me a professional box fight, maybe, you know, I call it Gervonta Davis or something like that, or any of these guys, you know, I would love to do. It's not, you know, most of the time, you know, they say MMA fighters can't box, but there's a handful of MMA fighters that have good boxing experience, and I believe and think I'm one of them. So, you know, I never know. Or even if, you know, I fought who, you know, Gervonta just beat, something like that, or anything, figure it out.
You've done so much that you see, like, headline cards. Like, looking back, is there like a moment that kind of sticks out as a career highlight for you there?
I think my career highlight in the UFC was when I beat Faber. I think that's one of the biggest ones. Watching him as an MMA fan and growing up and seeing him, you know, establish the lighter divisions and then be able to share the octagon with him, I think that was a huge win in my career.
And then kind of the flip side of it, like, you fought like basically all the tough guys. Like, who was kind of that toughest guy you think, or the hardest fight for you that you've had?
My hardest fight in UFC, I would have to say probably Jan would be the hardest fight. You know, if I had to get two fights, you know, if I had to get fights back, two fights I would love to get back is the Sterling fight. I just didn't show up that day. I had a bad weight cut. And then the Jan fight where I made a mistake 2 rounds in a row where I just kind of was winning in the last 30 seconds. I'm like, I'm going to coast a little bit, relax. I got the round. And he just threw a shot, just didn't see it, and got caught with a flash knockdown. I got back up. So those are the tough ones. I mean, you go back and you look at all Jan's fights. I think the toughest fight he's had was the last Sterling fight, obviously, because he doesn't know how to defend jiu-jitsu. So that kind of opened up what his weaknesses are. And then my fight.
Just the last thing I want to touch on, just because you fought both of them, like, did you, after your fights with them, did you expect either of them to become the champ? And then did you think Sterling would beat Jan that second time?
Really didn't think Sterling was going to beat Jan that fight, that second time. But I think he learned from the first time, and he had a really, like, whatever game plan he had the first time wasn't working. He changed it up, and you can see the second time it worked a lot better for him. He was still getting touched, but he wasn't overwhelmed or scared or anything like that. And then the first fight, he put so much output that output he was putting up, you have to keep that up for 5 rounds. Can you keep that for 5 rounds? You saw he wasn't able to keep it up. But then you also saw, you know, weaknesses in Jan. His jiu-jitsu isn't that great, and he fights with emotion. And if you fight with emotion, 10 out of 10 times you're going to lose. So he got upset. He got frustrated the first time and needed him in the head. And the second time, you could just see the mistakes, you know, fight in, try to hurt him. And I think when you let a fighter get in your head, like, you know, how Conor McGregor's career was in the beginning, he got a lot of fighters' heads. You can't let that happen. Like, my opponent can say what the fuck they want to say or do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? If they get in my face weigh-ins, I'm going to shove them out of my face or whatever it is. But I'm still going to keep my composure fighting because, you know, you let them get the best of you. That could be, you know, not a good ending for you.
Did you think either of them would become champion? Just because when Jan, even before he fought you, like, everyone was kind of hyping him up with Sterling. Sterling, it was weird because like even after he beat you, like people still weren't kind of sold on him. Even going into the Yan fight, people weren't sold on him as like a top contender.
Yeah, I mean, he used his attributes, which is wrestling, jiu-jitsu mainly, and he was able to beat him the second time. I don't think he was winning that first fight with Yan. Yan messed up, kneed him in the head. And then, after the fight with Yan, when obviously I didn't win that one, it came to the decision. I thought he's definitely going to be the next one fighting for the belt because TJ was still out too. Now, you see it's TJ and Sterling. And I think with that fight, even TJ Sterling, I think I have, Sterling winning that fight. I think that's going to be a hard fight with the reach. Sterling's a good wrestler like TJ. I think Sterling's jiu-jitsu is better than TJ's. I think, if you have someone to come in there that's going to beat him, I think Corey Sanhagen definitely is one person. And I think Yan, if he can keep his composure, is the second one that could beat Sterling. But I don't know. I'm iffy about TJ beating him. I think TJ is going to end up taking him lightly, and he's not going to do so well. He can't take anybody lightly. Even fighting Howard Dates, just because he doesn't have that much experience, I don't take anybody lightly. That's when you don't do well.
Well, Jimmie, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, man, anytime. I apologize, cut it halfway through.
No worries.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC middleweight Chris Curtis, who's back in action. Chris, how's it going, man?
I am all right, man. I'm living life, trying not to die, but it feels good. I'm good.
First fight of the year, end of June. Like, what's up with that? You probably already had what, 4 by then this time last year?
Yeah, man. This was such a weird year, man. With UFC scheduling, whatever. So we didn't. I got scheduled a little bit farther back than I wanted. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll hit this one and then jump into it. And then I fractured my wrist really badly, so it pushed me even farther back. So definitely not the start I wanted in 2022, but I'm hoping all goes well. I stay healthy. I can just jump on something else short notice and keep going.
How disappointing was that for you having to pull out of that Dricus fight? Just because I know you're a guy that never likes to pull out and always wants to fight everyone.
It sucked, man, especially because I'm the one that asked for the fight. I asked for it. They gave me the fight. I thought it was a really great fight. I thought it was a really fun fight for me, for him, for the fans. It was a really good fight. And it sucks, having to pull out. I mean, the moment I fractured my, I knew something was wrong. I knew it was bad. It hit and it immediately dropped me, and I couldn't. They had to pull my glove off of me and everything, so I knew it was gonna be bad. I was like, well, maybe. I'm thinking maybe I just rest it for a few days. I can get back to it. And the specialist is like, no, man, what the hell's wrong with you? You can't fight with a broken wrist. So that just hurt me. It's the end of camp too. If it was the beginning of camp, it'd be whatever. That's the break. So you put all the work in, you're ready. You've got 2-3 weeks left, and then everything goes wrong. So that sucked a lot.
And then more disappointing too is you're supposed to be on this big pay-per-view card, and now you're just at a fight night, which seems like it's going to be at the Apex. Is that disappointing for you too?
I don't care, man. I will fight in a freaking phone booth. Honestly, I'll fight in if I'm fighting in somebody's backyard and they say, hey, your check clears. As long as my check clears, I don't care where it is. Madison Square Garden was cool. I got to check off one of my bucket list things, fighting in Madison Square Garden. So outside of a big thing like that, I don't care if it's a fight night or if Apex or wherever or numbered UFC. I just like fighting. I couldn't care less.
How long did it kind of take you to get fully healthy again, be able to actually punch fully and get back into training?
It's actually not fully I don't have I lost a little bit of grip on my left hand. It's a little grip's not quite the same what it was. I'm still having to be careful punching, but I've got 7 more weeks, so they're saying it should be fine. Next 3 weeks it should be whatever. So I've gotten back to hitting mitts hard, and it feels decent. Sparring's actually easier because I can kind of mitigate. I can control the output and whatnot. So it's not 100%, but it's good enough.
And with Rodolfo Vieira, how familiar are you with him?
I know he's a lot better at jiu-jitsu than I am. I know that. Apparently he's won some titles, I hear, in jiu-jitsu. But as a fighter, and up until I think I saw the only fight I saw his ever was the Fluffy fight before I had to do some research.
And what do you kind of make of him? Because obviously he's a very good jiu-jitsu guy. He's very muscular, but with that, like he gasses out pretty quickly. That's how Fluffy was able to kind of beat him. Like, is that something you've thought of too? Is if I can just extend him past that first round, it's probably good for you.
That's my strategy for every fight, honestly. Like I will bet, I'll say there's very few people in this sport who can out cardio me, especially at my weight. So this, my strategy overall is to drag him into deeper waters and make him, people tend to fall apart. He doesn't have that much. What does he have? Like 10 fights? Like he doesn't really see deep water too often. So the goal is to drown him before he strangles me. And so that's entirely the goal. I drag him in deep before he manages to strangle me. So it's a very easy game plan on both sides.
Were you surprised this was the matchup? Just because it's like a weird one I didn't really think of that they'd give you.
It's just weird because so I found out later that he just got cleared from like a brain scare. Mm-hmm. I'm like, shit, bro. Like I'm only going to be punching you in the head. I'm like, this is a very straight. I think coming off of like that scare, they give him a different matchup, but okay. Like honestly, it's one of those random things, but I'm here to fight. Doesn't really matter who or when. Like, I'm not somebody, like I said before, that needs to be built up. I don't need the Paddy Pimblett treatment where you have to like pick all my fights and like, or Ian Gary to like make sure, I'm okay. It's not even. I've got 36 fights. Like I'm down to fight whoever. It doesn't matter.
Do you kind of like this fight in this matchup though? For like, it's pretty easy to train for and pretty easy to like, if you're on the ground, you're probably losing. If it's on the feet, it's probably not going his way.
Yeah, we laughed. We laughed. Like, well, at least training camp is like pretty, straightforward. Like, it's either going to be contested on the feet or on the ground. And on both sides of those, there's very clear winners and losers. So it's funny. So you got one guy the grappling advantage, one got the striking advantage. So the entire fight comes down to wrestling.
And what happens too with a lot of grapplers, and he kind of falls in that same category, is they're such good grapplers, but they struggle to get it down to the ground because they're not like used to the American wrestling or wrestling since they're like young. Do you think that's going to play a role as he might have a hard time getting you down?
I've seen him. He's a big guy. He's a big, strong, explosive guy. So like everything I've seen from his wrestling is power. And it's not the style of wrestling that usually gets me in trouble. So I think that, we're just focusing on, I've just been wrestling nonstop for the last like 2 years. And we're continuing the focus of like, my wrestling and not just like counter wrestling, but wrestling back and being a better offensive and defensive wrestler. I don't think that as big as his like depth of knowledge is for jiu-jitsu, I don't think the same applies to wrestling because wrestling's very, very basic. And I think, I don't usually struggle against basic wrestlers.
Who are kind of the main guys you're working with for this one?
There's Strickland, as usual.
Yeah.
Jason Manley, Albert Durev, Jake Shields, Jake Ellenberger, Max Roshoff, which is a really good wrestler. Captain, some of the Brazilians who are really good grapplers. So I've got like a really. I've got a really, really good camp for this fight. Like, it's just the people I'm around normally can fill the roles that I need to. I have the guys who push me in grappling, the guys who push me in wrestling, and then guys like Sean and Albert who can make it all miserable. So I couldn't have asked for a better team to do it.
Does training with guys like Albert and Sean just only like help increase you, like help improve your confidence going into a fight where you're like, if I can train with them, like I'm probably not going to get tired in this fight?
It's like I've always been confident in my conditioning and whatever, but then there are fights with like Albert and Sean to where it's just like knock down, drag out. Some of their rounds are just who breaks first, and I don't think there are many people who train like that, and many people who have that mindset of like I have to break you first. So yeah, like you go through the days like that, you're like shit, man. If I can survive that, I can survive anything. You're 6 5-minute rounds of just like fighting, 6 5-minute rounds of like grappling, bad positions. It's just, if you can survive that, man, like, and put that on top of 36 fights, like what's going to surprise me?
How do you kind of see this one playing out then?
Honestly, I see a second round TKO. Like I really do. Second round TKO or a second round submission. Like it's one of my first round submission. Either a first round submission loss or a second round TKO win. Those are like, there's no way this goes 3 rounds. It's not in the cards. He's either going to beat me real quick or I'm going to drag him a little bit deep and beat him to death. So like those are the only ways. There's no option C.
Where do you think a win puts you? Because I thought after you beat Brendan Allen, you could have got a top 15 guy. And then if you go out there and beat him, like I wouldn't be surprised if a ranked guy's next for you.
Well, who knows, man? I don't know how the rankings work. I don't know how people decide rankings because, like, I looked at it, apparently I should be number 15, but, like, whatever. Like, life goes on. So at the end of the day, I have no idea who the hell is doing these rankings and, like, what the criteria is, and I honestly don't care at this point. So long as I get to fight people and get paid, like, I'll worry about rankings later.
What's kind of the goal for you then this year? Like last year you were pretty vocal. What was it? I remember talking to you before your first fight. It was what, 7 fights I think you wanted?
Yes, 12. I'm going to try to shoot for 4 now. Like, yeah, I'll be 4 if I'm lucky. So if I can bang out 2 back-to-back and then get another 2 back-to-back into summer, or maybe hit like 2 in the summer and then 1 in fall and winter would be nice. So now we're going to aim for 4. Like, all right, like I got to get 4 at least. I can't go under 4. Like I'll lose my mind. So bare minimum 4 fights.
Have you had like a chance, especially now that you had a bit of time off from the gym because you were injured, to like kind of reflect on last year and how kind of crazy it was for you?
It's one of those things to where, like it's a day by day thing where you reflect, and like more so when I look around and like, I've like moved into my new place, everything's going well. I'm like, holy shit, like, come a long way real fast. But like those are the moments I kind of reflect on it, like, man. But as far as slowing down, I'm never really going to slow down, just because I think once people have some form of success, when they reflect and slow down too much, they lose that forward drive. So I kind of like take it every now and then. I'll take a moment to look around and kind of appreciate and just absorb how everything's changed. But all gas, no brakes, man. Like I can't slow down. I can't let myself think about it too much, because yesterday's success doesn't mean anything for tomorrow. So just keep pushing ahead.
I'm not 100% sure if this is right, but I think I remember you telling me when you were supposed to fight Giagos, this is your 3rd UFC fight. Isn't this already your 3rd contract? Like, didn't you get a new contract for Hawes and the Allen fight?
Just move it along. Yeah. Yeah. So we're just, I am, that's why I'm laughing. Some people are like, oh, do you want a ranked guy? I'm like, look, if I can burn through a couple contracts, then I worry about ranked guys. I'm not worried about it. If they give me a ranked guy, fine. If not, I'm not worried about it. So long as like I can keep getting different contracts and burning through contracts, I'm just making more money. So at the end of the day, either way I win. I either get a higher ranked guy and a new contract, or I beat a not ranked guy and I still get more money and burn through a contract.
Just the last thing I want to touch on is, obviously one of your main training partners in Sean Strickland's fighting the week after you. Like, how good is that where you guys are kind of peaking for around that same date?
I mean, for me, it's great, because if I'm being in camp with Sean when you're not getting ready for a fight's fucking miserable. So at least like, I know I'm peaking. So like, I'll be able to like try to fight and survive, because like, he's not the guy you just want to do rounds with if he's like feeling on and you're not. So at least now I'm like, I know that, I'm pushing too. He's pushing, everybody's pushing. So like, it's great, because like there's Sean Albert's like a week after that. So it's crazy. Like, so it's just a really good situation. Everybody's kind of ramping up right now. So it works out great for like your mental state and physically not being killed, because like if you weren't in camp, this would be miserable for everyone involved.
Are you surprised Sean took that fight against Pereira? Because I thought he could have easily been in like a title shot or one of those top 5 guys, and to fight an unranked guy, I think was kind of surprising. But then again, it's Sean Strickland. I guess he doesn't really care about anything.
Sean's all about what gets him money. Like, Sean's real thing is like, what's gonna pay Sean the most by the end of the day. He's getting paid well for that one. And I'm pretty sure winning this fight does put him in that contention picture. Because the title at 85 right now, that like the title contention at the top is pretty muddled with like everything going on with Izzy and the rematches and other shit. So this gives him a pretty clear path to it going through Pereira. So puts him in line for a title shot. I don't think Sean cares about a title. It's just the money that comes with it. It's what excites him. So it gets him in line for more money, and they're giving him. He's making decent money on this fight, so I'm not surprised at all.
And from the outside looking in, like maybe I'm completely off, but I kind of think the UFC made this hoping Pereira would win, just because. Obviously
they're
it's
trying
because of Izzy. Like I think they want him to beat Sean badly.
They're really trying. Who was Pereira's last fight?
Bruno Silva, like another striker.
Okay, so here's the thing. Sean's the first ranked guy he's fought, right?
Yeah.
So they really want to fast track him to Izzy, but you can't, unless you're Conor McGregor, you can't get a title shot without fighting a ranked guy. So they're like, okay, Sean, if I was playing matchmaker, I'd be like, okay, Sean's not going to knock him out, so we save our value in that. And, like, you know, maybe he can, like, I don't know. So I think they think if he has to be tested, Sean will be one of the safer tests at the top style-wise. But I think people forget that, like, Sean's a grappler by trade. He just doesn't grapple a lot. He likes hitting things. But Sean's a grappler by trade. He's become a very, very, very good wrestler over the last, like, 5 years, ever since the Usman fight. So I think people aren't really counting on it. Like, yeah, Sean could be an idiot and go out here and have a kickboxing match, but Sean can also, like, slam Pereira to the ground and strangle him or beat him to death on the ground. So I think they think Sean's going to come out there and have a kickboxing match, but if he listens to everyone else, then he'll just strangle Pereira and he'll get a title shot.
Yeah, I actually thought they'd give Pereira Uriah Hall or Darren Till, because then there's like no shot of the takedown. Because I actually think Sean's just going to wrestle him, and I think it's a pretty he fought worse guys again, LFA and UFC, that were able to get him down pretty easily, and I'd imagine Sean's a lot better than they are.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think they're really hoping that, but then again, like you, so what's Uriah Hall ranked right now? Till is 12. Hall is like.
Yeah. He is, Uriah Hall's 9, Till's 8, and then Strickland's obviously 4. So he's got to get a top 5 guy.
He's got to be the top 5 guy. So who do you got in the top 5? You got like
it's
Whitaker,
Cannonier, Brunson, and then Strickland.
So yeah, like we're definitely not gonna give him Brunson. You're just like, fuck that. Like like prospect killer Brunson. So you're not gonna give him Brunson. So it's either Sean or Marvin pretty much. So like. There you go. I guess Sean drew the Pereira lottery. So,
well, Chris, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, no problem at all, man. Glad to shoot the shit and hang out. It's always fun.
All right, we're joined by Bellator bantamweight Danny Sabatello, who's got his next fight in the Grand Prix coming up against Leandro Higo. Danny, how's it going?
Doing great, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Like, you've known about this fight ever since your last one. Like, when we talked after your last win, I think it was like 9 weeks exactly, or 8 weeks after your last one. So what kind of has this past couple of weeks been like, just getting right back into it?
Yeah, I've had this fight on my mind for a while now. Even when I was going into that fight with Jordan Lugo, I knew I was going to get past him and then eventually fight Higo. So honestly, I've been picturing his face and picturing me pummeling his face for a while now. But obviously, it's really nice now that we're about 2.5 weeks away from it actually being showtime. And I'm just so fucking pumped. I don't really like this guy. I haven't liked him for a while. I've actually hated him now for a few years. This is a guy that misses weight constantly, and that's a really big pet peeve of mine. I think there's one thing in this sport you don't do, and that's you say you're going to do something and not fucking do it. It's a big problem in MMA these days. Everyone says we got a weight cutting issue. I think we got a bitch issue. He's going to say he's going to make the weight, and he doesn't ever fucking make the weight, and that's a problem in my book. So obviously just fucking pumped to get in there and beat the shit out of him finally.
And then you guys had that like virtual press conference kind of thing. Like, what was that like? Like, you kind of stole the show from everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's kind of a bummer that he says he doesn't speak English, even though I do think he does speak English. He just knew I was going to get in his head. So whenever you got somebody and you're talking trash to and he doesn't speak English, there's no really flow back and forth. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, it was finally nice to actually just talk to him. I wish it was in person, but again, maybe it's not a good idea for me to see him in person because I'd probably end up beating the shit out of him. But yeah, it was good. It was nice to actually have some banter back and forth, actually talk to him, let him know I'm going to fucking damage his face and leave him scars for the rest of his life. So I hope we do that more going forward. And I hope that next one with Stas is a press conference actually face to face.
I think the first time we talked was before your Contender Series fight, and like even before you're even part of the Grand Prix. Like I was telling you on one of our interviews, like I didn't understand why, because of your trash talking, because you could sell these fights. Like now that you're in it, like have you kind of seen your star kind of grow, and like now there's a lot more people paying attention to you, and a lot more people are taking notice of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of more people are just having more eyeballs on me, kind of seeing what I'm like inside the cage and outside the cage. And it's just kind of crazy because I went into this not even going to be in the tournament, and now we're here, and I'm probably one of the favorites to win the whole fucking thing. So obviously, it's nice to have people recognize me and understand that my skill set and my abilities in that cage is just, sky's the limit. I could just be the best ever, in my opinion. And I think people are starting to see that. So it's always good, but at the same time, you can't put too much stock into it. At the end of the day, I don't really give a fuck if people are a fan of me or if they fucking hate me. Either way, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm always going to be me. I'm always going to talk trash. I'm always going to be electric inside and outside the cage. That's just who I am as a person. But of course, yeah, that's always nice. I think people are really having me as not an underdog in this fight. And I think when it first started, people would have had, Higo just smashed me. But I think now everybody realized I'm going to go in there and just beat the fuck out of this guy. So it's obviously nice to get the recognition. But, myself, my family, my friends, my teammates at American Top Team, we always knew this was coming. And it's just nice that it's finally here.
And it's still crazy how you weren't originally part of it, because when they announced a Grand Prix, like I assumed you're going to be in it. And I remember I said on a podcast, I said, when you were named finally the alternate, I said, Danny's going to win this thing. Like, it's not just like he's an alternate. Like, I actually think just your style plays perfect into a Grand Prix. So now, and like, have you kind of noticed that too, is now people are kind of realizing how good you are now that you're not this dark horse? Like, you might outright be the favorite to win it all.
Yeah, absolutely. When this fucking tournament was announced, I was pissed, and I called up that owner of American Top Team, Dan Lambert, called up my manager. So I had a lot of discussions, and I kind of let them know, you know what? Something's going to happen, and I'm going to make my way into the tournament. And when I make my way into the tournament, I'm going to win the whole fucking thing. And they were on board with that. They agreed with that. With these tournaments, a lot of things happen, and people get injured and stuff like that happen. So it really opens the door for somebody like me. And I kind of just manifested it to happen. I knew I was going to get in that tournament, and I'm going to make the most of it. With this tournament, it's 5 fucking rounds every fight, and that plays perfectly with my style. And that's actually the enemy of Higo as well. He's a guy that cuts a lot of weight, doesn't ever fucking make weight like a little bitch. And he's going to be hurting. Those championship rounds, those extra 2 rounds are fucking tough. That's when you determine who's a fucking man. A lot of the times with these 3-round fights, you can just get by with not having crazy conditioning. But with all these fights, you need fucking nuts conditioning. And that's what I bring to the table. Every fucking day I'm going hard. I'm always training hard. I always train for 5 fucking rounds. That's just my style. And I don't think that there's a guy out there that's going to have as good as conditioning of me, even in a glimpse of it. I think that I just break these fucking guys. Higo, I think I'll have him broken in the 3rd round if it even makes it that far. But yeah, I think my stylistic matchup against all these guys is great. Obviously, Higo's a jiu-jitsu guy. Me, I'm an MMA guy. I'm not just a wrestler. I'm better on the feet than him. I'm better on the ground than him. I can take this fight anywhere. And then that fight with Stotts, I see myself murdering him as well. And then we'll see who I have in the finals. But yeah, I see myself fucking walking through this tournament. First up, Higo, June 24th at the Mohegan Sun.
With this one too, like Higo's missed weight a couple times. Like I don't actually know the actual rules. Like maybe I should reach out to Bellator about it. But if he misses weight, like, do you know what happens? Just because it's technically a tournament, like I don't know if he can advance. Like, do you even fight him, or like do you kind of know what happens if that ends up being the case?
Yeah, I don't want to put too much stock or too much thought into that, because either way, June 24th, I'm going to beat the shit out of him. If he doesn't make weight, I'm going to find him in the parking lot and beat the shit out of him. But either way, we are going to fight June 24th. No matter what he weighs in at, I'm going to accept the fight. I'm telling you right now, if he comes in a ton overweight, I'm still going to accept the fight and beat the shit out of him. Sometimes if you are that much over, the commission doesn't allow it. But again, if the commission doesn't allow the fight, I'm still going to find him. Whether it's at the casino or in the back alley or in the parking lot, I'm still going to beat the shit out of him. But, hopefully he does make the weight. Personally, I don't think he will, just because he's a fucking soft little bitch. He's a mental midget. He's not fucking mentally tough. And that's part of the reason why I think I'm going to break him, is just because he's not mentally tough. If you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you could tell that the person's already mentally weak. So if he's not winning his fight with the scale, no way he's going to win this fight with me. Either way, no matter what, we're going to fight. I'm going to accept the fight. I don't really know the technicalities or the rules behind him not making weight and advancing or whatever, but it won't matter because we're going to fight either way, and I'm going to beat him either way.
With this fight, like, where do you kind of see, like, I just think you're a much better wrestler. I think you're a much better striker. Like, where do you think, like, Higo poses any problems, if you think he does at all?
Yeah, he's going to try to catch me for sure. I know he's got that bullshit guillotine that he's tried in just about every fight. I went back and watched all his fights, and if he doesn't get it, he at least tries for it. So I know he's going to try a few times for it. And I know he's going to want to have me slip up, whether it's maybe on the feet with my hands down or he does some spinning bullshit and tries to knock me out and get lucky, or if it's on the ground and I slip up and he gets lucky. But I think he kind of realizes toe for toe, I'm better than him. And if it does go the distance, there's no way he's going to win a decision. I think I just am totally better than him and will get the decision, especially with my conditioning in the later rounds. I'll be winning those. So I do think he's going to try to catch me, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. I don't know. The fight will go wherever I want it to go. And the good thing about this is I see the fight being 50% on the feet and 50% on the ground. This is mixed martial arts. This isn't a boxing match. This isn't a jiu-jitsu or wrestling match. This is MMA. And the good thing is this is a perfect fight that will have that on tap. We are going to go on the feet, and I am going to knock his fucking head off on the feet. And we are also going to go on the ground, and I'm going to have too much pressure and slice him open with my elbows. I plan on giving him really heavy and hard ground and pound. I want him to have scars on his face for the rest of his life after this fight. But that's just because I don't fucking like the guy. Again, I see him thinking that he has to try to catch me, do some fucking flashy move, which I guess can happen, but it's a pretty dangerous game plan to have. As long as I just fight smart, hard, and keep the pace up, this guy's got no chance.
I know something we've talked about too in the past is how you don't like just finishing guys like early, because then people can say, oh, that was a fluke. He just caught me. Like, you want to bring them to the later rounds and prove like how much better you are. So with this one though, that like how much you dislike him, like, do you want him to, like, are you hoping to finish him early, or you kind of hope to bring him into that third, fourth, fifth, maybe round, and then just kind of really just beat on that entire time?
Yeah, I want to torture him. The bottom line is I like fighting. A lot of these fighters say that they want this first round quick finish, and it's like, well, the fight really didn't get going, and even for the fans, they didn't really get to see a full fight. I want to be in there for a long fucking time, beating the shit out of him, showing off my skills on the feet, showing off my skills on the ground. And I want him to fucking remember this fight. I got goals going into each fight, and that's always to torture them and make them remember the time that they fight Danny Sabatello. I need to make this a fucking bloody fight as well. I just love fighting. The bottom line is I go in there not just to win. I go in there to have fun, because fun to me is beating the shit out of these guys. So again, I don't want to have this quick finish. I do want to finish him, but in the later fucking rounds. I need to have some fun with it first. I do this shit because I like fighting. I don't do it for anything else. I don't do it for the money, fame, or anything like that. I do it because when I'm in that cage in front of thousands of people on live TV, on Showtime, in front of that amazing Bellator fucking stamp in the middle, there's just nothing like it. So I want to maximize my output in there. So of course I want to fucking torture him for a long time and then get him out of there. I am a finisher at the end of the day, but I also like beating the shit out of these guys. And I actually do like fucking fighting. There's nothing better than between rounds when you're sitting on the stool and he's all fucking bloody and I got his blood all over my face and my hair, and it's not even over. I know at the other side of the fucking cage, he's thinking, oh, fuck, get me out of here. I'm fucking dying over here. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, no, we're just getting started. And that's just a hell of a feeling for somebody to have. And that's really what I fucking love about fighting. So I do see it as a fourth round TKO finish. Again, I don't want to get him out there too early, but I do want to get the finish.
And then you win this fight, you're fighting for the interim belt against Rafion Stotts. Like, what's kind of that going to be like for you, where you're already fighting for a title so soon in your Bellator career?
Yeah, that will be the biggest fight in Bellator bantamweight history. It's going to be a mega fight. I know he's picked up a lot of steam. People say he's pretty good. They say he's pretty good at trash talking, although I think his trash talking sucks. I think he's corny. He scripts his stuff, and it's just he's stuttering all over the place. But I do understand that he is a better guy than a bunch of these other Bellator bantamweights. And I think that's going to be an absolutely massive fight. But we got to get there first. I could slip on a banana peel against Higo and something crazy might happen. So obviously I got to have tunnel vision against Higo. I got to take care of business June 24th at the Mohegan Sun, and then we'll go from there. But it's hard not to think about that fight just because it's so fucking exciting. But again, June 24th is up first. I want to have my fun with Higo. I really fucking hate this guy, and I really want to torture him, really want to make him bleed. So I am going to have my fun here first.
Just two more things is on the same card as you is that other quarterfinal matchup between Barzola and Magametov. Like, how do you kind of see that one playing out?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very close fight and actually a very entertaining fight. I think it's a very high-level fight, both very skillful guys. And I think if they fought 10 times, 5 times Barzola wins, 5 times Magametov wins. So I don't really have a prediction. If I were to take a guess, I'm going to go with the upset and say Barzola. But I really have no idea who's going to win that fight. I do think it's going to be good. But either way, my side of the bracket is so much harder than that other side. Either way, I think the winner of my side is going to win the whole fucking tournament. My side is just stacked with killers. But yeah, I'll see either Barzola or Magametov in the finals because both of those guys are going to get past shitty Patrick Mix.
What'd you make of Mix's performance? Like, do you still not think he's that good?
Nah, I think he sucks. I think his only path to victory is getting somebody's back and putting in those boots. He likes that figure 4 on the back. And if he doesn't get that, he's just absolutely screwed. You know, he's not very good on the feet. He's not that good on the ground unless he has your back. So yeah, I see both those guys getting past Mix. I see whoever wins on my side, which is going to be me, unless some miracle happens, is not me. It's going to be them beating them winning it all. But yeah, I don't think Mix is good. You watch his fights, any one of them. His fight against James Gallagher was actually fucking hilarious because all they tried to keep doing is just jump guillotining each other. I don't know what the fuck was I watching. Yeah, Mix sucks. He only tries to get your back. And yeah, that's that. The winner of Barzola and Magametov is going to beat the shit out of Mix.
Just last thing is you got Twitter. Like, how are you enjoying the Twitter experience?
Yeah, I got my Twitter. Bellator really wanted me to get it. The fans really wanted me to get it, so I got it. But I'm not a huge fan of it. You know, the bottom line is I don't really give a shit about someone's lunch. You know, I'm not going to post what I just fucking had. This isn't the fucking Kardashians. That's not my occupation. My occupation is to go into that cage and beat the fuck out of guys, and that's just what I do. I talk along the way. So I guess I am going to have a little bit of fun with it. I'm not going to be on it too much. I'm not going to get carried away. You know, that's just not me. I'm not this fucking Disney Channel cartoon character. But I am going to have a little bit of fun on it. I'm going to talk my trash. You can follow me at Shock This World, but I'm not going to be so much on it. You know, the fact of the matter is all I give a fuck about is fighting. You know, I talk a lot of shit because that's really fun to me. But at the end of the day, all I give a shit about is talking shit and fighting.
Well, Danny, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight Christos Iagos, who's back in action. Christos, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. Just going really good. Just still like getting used to Florida, but I feel like I finally started adapting.
Yeah, that was obviously a big move for you. Like, I know your last fight was, I think you were there for your last one, but that was pretty like not a full kind of camp. So now that you've had like several months now, like how much better are you kind of feeling down there?
Oh, like it's crazy. So like when I first went there, I accepted a fight literally like the week that we were coming to Florida to move. I haven't even seen my house yet. So I get here, I got nothing. I'm still waiting for all my stuff to come. I got like 2 pairs of training clothes. I go to the gym. I have to meet a whole new different people. And I thought it was going to be cool, but you first join a gym. I just beat one of their guys. So it's like, I feel like the eyes are on me, you know, with sparring. I got to get used to going with everybody and that like ego and all that. So it was just very, very new to me. And I'd never done something like this before. So it was rough. But now, like, I'm getting to know all the guys. I have a bunch of friends now. My body's definitely adapted because it was definitely a struggle in the beginning because every go is tough round no matter what. So I feel like I've definitely adapted, and just the confidence now that I have than, before is just, it's crazy how much has changed. And getting to go with all these high level guys has really helped my confidence for sure. And I just feel like so much better now and so much calmer and just, it's awesome. I love it.
Your last fight, like, what do you take away from that? Like, Armin's a guy that not many guys are signing up to fight, and I know that's kind of why you like taking that one.
Yeah, my manager asked me to take that, and I did want a top 15 fight. I didn't want that kind of fight during the move, but I had originally they wanted it a little sooner, and I was just like, well, if they threw it out there, like, well, if it was later, you know, I'd be down. And then they offer 1 month later, and I was like, whatever. I already said I'd do it. I'd do it. But that's the type of fight I would love to have like a full training camp for and whatnot. And definitely, I just wasn't right. I wasn't in the right headspace with the whole like move thing. It's like not taking anything away from him, you know. Like he capitalized, he clipped me like straight up, and I felt good. I think I was just too conservative, and that's not the way I fight. You know, I come out trying to take heads off. You know, I come out always looking for the finish, and I felt like in that fight I was just like too afraid of the takedown, and I was very, very like just not doing what I do best. You know, I had people tell me it didn't look like it was me in there, and it was just overall bad vibes. But I'll tell you, it's not gonna happen this fight.
And Thiago Moises, like, how familiar are you with him when you got that guy? Because he's been ranked, I think, a few times.
Yeah, he was in the top 15. He got in the top 15 early on, and then I think he just got bumped out. I knew I was gonna fight this guy eventually, 100%. So he fought for the title in RFA, and I fought on the same card. I was like the fight before the co-main event, and Dana White was there, and I had a huge knockout, and Dana was impressed. I didn't get signed again though, but at that time, but Dana was impressed. He wasn't impressed with Thiago. Thiago won, but they weren't really like impressed with this, so they didn't sign him or nothing like that. And then I was like, I bet you I'm gonna have to fight him for the title maybe, because if he's not getting signed, I might fight for the title again. But I guess it didn't work out. I was like, all right, well, I guess that's not gonna happen. So I see him get signed. I see him doing pretty well in UFC. I'm like, okay, I would love this fight. I think it's a great stylistically good matchup for me. I know he has good jiu-jitsu, but I got good jiu-jitsu. And like he has a good striker, but he's very technical, and I want to definitely bring the fight to him. So I like this fight a lot. I knew it was going to happen. It was a fight I always, you know, thought about having. So I'm glad it's finally here.
And what have you made of his last two fights? Like, obviously, one of them is to Islam, who looks kind of like the real deal. And then the other one, he just kind of got against Joel Alvarez. Like, he couldn't even really get going. And Alvarez was able to hurt him pretty quickly in that fight.
Yeah. So I got to watch the Islam fight. I still haven't watched that fight. I'll start watching a little bit more. And the Michael Johnson, I trained with Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, he was just tagging him up, you know, outstruck him in the first round, and then got caught with the heel hook in the second. So I definitely got to be safe, you know. But my jiu-jitsu is pretty solid, so I'm not no slump on the ground. And I just feel like I'm gonna bring it to him, you know. I feel like I can hurt him. I feel like he's gonna get, you know, he's gonna want to take me down. He's gonna feel like that's what he's better than me at, but he'll be surprised. I know he's a good black belt, and but I go black belts all day, and I do very well. So. I just think this is a good matchup, and he's gonna have to get me down. Remember that, and I'm not easy to take down.
And with Moises, like, he's a very good grappler, but you have really good grappling yourself. So is this one where you think it's gonna hit the mat, or is this something where you think let's just stay away from the ground, let's just try to beat him up on the feet?
I don't know. You know, I think this one I'm just gonna kind of feel. I'm gonna just fight my fight. You know, like I'm not gonna be afraid to go to the ground. I'm not gonna, like, when I fight guys like Charles Oliveira, that's a different story. I was like, all right, don't go to the ground with that guy. And this time I'm like, whatever, you know what I mean? I'll take him down, beat him up a little bit. I'm pretty confident in my jiu-jitsu not to get submitted off when they're on their back, you know, just as long as I'm safe. So I know he's good when he takes their back. He's good at back takes. He has some leg lock stuff. So definitely working on that, and just to be safe. But if I see a takedown, I'm scoring my points. You know, I'm here to win the fight. I'm gonna be looking for the finish too.
Are you kind of expecting him to shoot pretty often on you? Like, do you not think he's really gonna want to strike with you?
I don't know, to be honest. I gotta watch some more of his fights and see what he does when he gets hurt. I haven't been doing too much studying, but I will. I'll get on that. But I definitely feel like if I'm tagging him, he's gonna try to bring it down somehow, whether he pulls a guard or I don't know. But I'm gonna move my feet. I don't want him to take me down. So I'll definitely be cautious of that. But if I see the opportunity, I might take him down, you know. So but I feel like if I'm hitting him, I'm gonna be hitting him pretty good. He's gonna want to take me down. I definitely expect that.
How do you kind of see it playing out then? Like, I know you always want the finish, and he's been finished his last two. So do you think it's more likely, though, you get the knockout, or do you think you submit him?
I probably more likely I knock him out.
Yeah.
He fought Joel. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. I want to hit him with something, make him fold, and just kind of finish it. But if that's not the case, if I get him hurt and he tries to take me down and lives his neck out for me, I'll grab it. I'll grab it. So I don't know. I see more of a knockout happening, or at least I'm going to be going for it. But we'll see what he wants to do, and if he's gonna want to fight or if he's gonna want to run, he's gonna try to take me down. But once I figure that out, it will be good.
A lot of good looks at Sanford. Like, who are kind of the main guys you're working with?
I got to work with Michael Chandler a little bit before his upcoming fight with Ferguson. I've been helping Michael Johnson a lot. He fights this weekend now, but his whole camp, I've been one of his main guys. And I get to go with all kind of like Jared Flash Gordon, Herbert Burns, which I want to help me out for this fight because he got good jiu-jitsu. And we're really cool. So, and yeah, you get all kinds of guys, a lot of high-level pros like about to get signed to a big show pretty soon. So everything's solid. And I get really good work. And the guy Omar's a UFC guy. I try to do my best to go or like high Bellator, PFL, and UFC guys. That's all that's there.
How much better do you think you've gotten since going to Sanford? Because it's not just like more bodies. Like, obviously that's a big help, but it's like you can just grab guys that are certain styles. So you can grab like a Herbert Burns, you want to work on your jiu-jitsu. You can grab someone like an Ian Gary or Michael Chandler if you want to work on your striking, or grab like a Jace Jackson for wrestling or any kind of that stuff. So like, how big is that where you can just kind of pick and choose certain guys that are just so good at that kind of stuff?
It's amazing. It's amazing. You never have something that you can't learn over there, So, yeah, it's been awesome. It's definitely exposed my whole. So, especially being in California, I've always been like either the best or top two guys at the gym. You know what I mean? And there's not a whole lot of guys I can go with that keep pushing me. And that could have been affecting me in my past fights because now I feel like the cardio push that I had to work up to, but now that what I have is like, yeah, if I'm gonna fight a guy with a good grappler, I can just make sure I go with a lot of black belts because there's plenty of them there. If I'm fighting a good striker, you can get that there. If I want any tips on wrestling, anything, I can pull one. I don't even have to ask the coaches. There's enough guys there to learn from, just as good. So I think everybody can help everybody. And it really feels like a solid team vibe over there too as well. So I'm just so blessed and I definitely feel like I've gotten better because there has been guys there I've gone with in the beginning and guys I go with now, and I'm just definitely seeing the difference. So I think it's been a good move. It's been a good move.
I know they're starting to travel. I know your event doesn't have a location yet. Do you know if it's going to be somewhere, or is it just going to be back at the Apex?
I'm assuming it's the Apex, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been you're right. There hasn't been anything yet online about it. So I know International Fight Week's the week after that. So it's most likely a fight night. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Apex, but we'll see.
Do you like the Apex, or would you rather? Because I know you were on the 262 card in front of fans. Like, I feel like it's kind of weird going from fans and then back to the Apex and what your Linux fight was.
I personally love the crowd better. I feel like I feed off of it, and it gets me going. But I guess they allow some people in the Apex, and I can at least hear some cheering, so that's cool. You know what I mean? At least I'll be able to stay calmer, which I need to get better at anyway.
Just last thing, like, where do you think a win over Iagos puts you? And then, like, building off that, like, what is kind of the goal for you this year?
I think a big win off Iagos can definitely set me up for a top 15 guy next. Or, shit, I'll fight Grant Dawson. I know he just beat my boy Jared Gordon, but I like that fight, I'll fight him, and then winner gets a spot or something. I don't know how it goes, but after this fight, I'm down for another big fight. Maybe Jim Miller if he wants to do something. Who knows? But I wouldn't mind having another chance at the top 15. Since I know Iagos was in there, and if I beat him, it sets me right up.
And I know you like to be pretty active, so having your first fight near the end of June, like, are you hoping you could string some like quick ones right after this?
Tell me about that. It was a struggle getting a fight book. I wanted to fight April. I'm in shape to fight tomorrow. You know what I mean? So right now, I've been working up because I was really hoping I got to fight in April. It didn't work out. Nothing in May. Didn't work out. June 25th. All right. Well, at least I'm in shape. So I'm in good shape. I don't want all this hard work to go to nothing. So as long as I'm safe, I'm down to fight again, and hopefully maybe the end of July. We'll see, because I got a honeymoon to go to in August. Me and my wife, we haven't done our honeymoon yet, so we're trying to work that out. But if I can do a quick turnaround, that'd be cool, and then go right after. But we'll see. If not, like June, July, or August, then maybe like October, November, because I'm gonna go on my honeymoon and stuff. So hopefully I can talk to UFC if I get an impressive win and do a quick turnaround.
Where are you going on the honeymoon?
We're going to go to Greece, Santorini, or Mykonos. Haven't really talked the details out yet, but I know one of those things are happening. And my dad's over there. He's going to be going there pretty soon, so I get to go see him. He's going to stay out there for a couple months. So I'm going to go see my dad out there. That'll be cool.
Well, Christos, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
No worries. Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, we're joined by UFC bantamweight Mario Bautista, who's returning next weekend. Mario, how's it going, man?
Going pretty good, thank you.
Getting pretty close to the fight, like 9 days out. Like what kind of has camp been like? Obviously, you work with a lot of good guys. Like, was it the usual kind of crew you're working with for this one?
Yeah, just usual guys. I've had similar camps to the similar body styles, so it wasn't nothing too crazy. I was also getting ready for. I was trying to stay ready for July 2nd. Sean and Jared were fighting on that card, my teammates. So I was trying to stay ready for that, maybe an opportunity that came up. But one came up a week earlier, so I was ready for it.
I was trying to think. I didn't think there was a whole, like, did you get a full camp for this? I was trying to think if this was like relative shorter. Like, I thought it wasn't like too short notice. I didn't think it was like a full camp you got.
No, it wasn't a full camp. It was, I want to say it was like 3.5 weeks notice. But like I said, I was kind of getting ready for it. And I was doing rounds with Sugar. He's getting ready for that July 2nd fight. So I was in there, staying in shape and everything, getting ready for that too.
And then how kind of exciting is the gym right now with Sean having that big fight against Pedro, then obviously Jared fighting for the belt on that same card?
Oh man, we got some big fights coming up. Sean's ready, and then just seeing Jared work. We got some big fights coming up, so like the morale in the gym is pretty high right now.
Does that give you confidence too, seeing them have so much success coming from the same gym as you?
Oh yeah, those two, and we have some younger guys on the gym. Like locally, we've been doing amazing. We have some up and coming, young guys, 35ers too.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I got you back now.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have some young guys coming up, and everything's going good at the gym right now. So I'm ready to go.
And then Brian Kelleher, like, he's been around, like a vet, been around for the UFC for a while. So like, how familiar are you with him and his kind of style?
Oh yeah, I've seen him fight. He's been around a long time. So even if I wasn't scouting him, I've seen him fight plenty of times. And like I said, I fought similar people like him. I want to say like Miles Johns, Jinsu's son, just shorter, and even Jay Perrin, the guy I last fought, kind of similar style. So I like the matchup.
Yeah, and with this one, like, I actually, when I was looking at this fight, I actually thought Miles was a very similar opponent to Brian, where a shorter guy with knockout power, but then pretty good wrestling. And with Brian too, like, he obviously likes to jump for that guillotine. So like, how do you kind of prepare for that? Because like, he is super dangerous in that first round with that power and the guillotine, and then it seems like in some of his fights he starts to fade as it kind of goes on.
Yeah, I just got to be super sharp in the first round. It might be a close first round, but I know if it starts going to 2 and 3, I mean, those rounds, I feel like they're always mine, especially if I'm, not getting knocked out or getting submitted. I'm going to be there till the end. So I really like the matchup. He's a little bit more experienced than Miles, but like I said, I'm ready for it and ready to go.
How do you kind of see playing out then? Just because with Brian, like we've seen him get finished before. A lot of it though is getting caught by a submission. Like he is a very durable guy and can take a lot of shots.
It could go either. It's either going to be a quick night or it's going to be a pretty long one. I feel like, you know, he likes to get the fight started right away, and I'm getting prepared for that, you know. And you know, if nothing happens in the first round, I kind of feel myself taking over, you know, 2 and 3 and you know, winning the fight for sure.
How much of a benefit is your last one with Jay? Just because he was so durable and took so much damage, and like Brian can kind of do the same thing where you can kind of take a lot of those shots and kind of keep walking forward. So how much of a benefit was that having that last one where you can kind of know what you need to do?
It was huge. You know, you don't like to go 3 rounds, but when
Yeah.
you do, you get so much experience. You know, you kind of feel how it feels to get into that 3rd round, keep pushing the pace. Brian's a little bit more experienced, so I expect a little bit more from him. But the last fight was definitely beneficial.
If you beat Brian, like where do you think that kind of puts you, especially if you can go out there and finish him?
It definitely puts me up higher, you know, and it depends on if I finish him, you know, and how I finish him. He just lost, you know, to someone pretty good.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I say not looking past Brian, but if I do, I would say maybe 1 or 2 more fights, and I'm looking at top 15 for sure.
With like you're very well rounded, like good, you have good power, like we've seen in the UFC, and then you can also submit a lot of guys. But with Brian, like, what do you think's the more likely outcome if you do get that finish?
It kind of all depends on
Mm.
what he's gonna do. You know, if he's gonna try to keep it standing, um, you know, I'm gonna be looking for the finish no matter what. Looking for the finish and pushing the pace everywhere I go. And you know, and like you said, I feel comfortable everywhere, and I'm feeling more comfortable, especially in the UFC, wherever it goes. So yeah, I'm just ready wherever he wants to take it.
You have a pretty good reach advantage here. I think it was 4 or 5 inches. Like, how big do you think that's going to be in the fight, where you can kind of keep him at your range if you want to?
Oh, I think it's going to be huge, especially in the first round, staying away from his power. Um, you know, I might have to move around a little bit, so I, I'll definitely need to use it for sure.
And then with this one, like already your second fight of the year, and just through June. So, like, what is kind of the goal the rest of the year? Like, you're setting up to have a pretty active year.
Yeah, for sure. I want 1 more. At the beginning of the year, I said I wanted 4, like 1 each quarter.
Mhm.
Um, you know, things work out, you know, with scheduling and everything. So, like I said, I want this fight and 1 more for sure by the end of the year. If I get one in maybe August, then you know I could get another one in maybe December. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm looking to stay active for sure.
And hopefully get on one of these cards in front of fans, so you're not just at the Apex anymore.
Oh my God, I miss the fans. I've seen like I went to UFC Phoenix here,
Mhm.
and
Eh,
man, just the crowd. I didn't think I would miss it that much. You know, I love fighting no matter what, but man, it's just having that crowd there. It's a huge part of it for sure.
Are you gonna stay in Vegas and kind of wait for the week after and stay in there? Or are you gonna head back home? Are you like what? Are you gonna be at the event?
No, I have to come back home. I got daddy duties, you know.
Yeah.
So come home, you know, relax. Um, maybe look for a little vacation here, but I'll definitely be buying that pay-per-view for sure.
Yeah, like what is that like for you? Like obviously we're like everyone in the UFCs, a lot of them are fight fans and like but I feel like it's a lot different when you have like one of your main training partners and Sean on the card and then one of your teammates fighting for the belt. Like how much different of viewing experience do you think that's gonna be?
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna be watching that fight super close. I'm gonna whatever's going on that day, forget about it. I'm just watching the fights. I'm gonna be ready for it. So yeah, I'm super excited for them.
Are you hoping soon you can get on a card with Sean or Kyler and start kind of because I know you guys are all super close. It'd be pretty cool if you guys can all be on a same card.
Yeah, I think I've been on a card with
Yeah.
Casey and Kyler before, and just having your teammates there is just it kind of brings the morale up, you know, and makes it a little bit easier experience. So uh, hopefully maybe at the end of the year sometime.
And hopefully in front of fans.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be fun.
Well, Mario, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thank you, Cole. I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one. All right, we're joined by Vanessa Demopoulos, who's back in action. Vanessa, how's it going?
So awesome. I'm having the best day ever. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like back in action, coming here end of June. Like, how excited are you to finally get back in there again?
Yeah, we're looking at June 25th, and I feel like it literally couldn't even come quick enough. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so ready. And I've been having a lot of fun during my training camp. So that's always like a good thing, good vibes.
Are you surprised it kind of took this long to get you another fight, especially after a quick finish back in January?
No, I'm not. I know that like sometimes the UFC kind of books out a little bit far. So the thing is, like, if I wanted to take like a super last minute fight, then like I could see me jumping back in there very quickly. But yeah, it was because like this was more of a scheduled bout that it took so long. And I'm not mad about that.
I know we talked like basically right after your last win, but now like a couple months after that, like what has the fan reaction been like since that fight?
Man, I mean, so many amazing things. Like I get to like see fans and like when they recognize me, like I get to get really excited to like be able to take pictures with them. And it's just like kind of really cool when you're at fight events. For example, we just had the UFC here in Phoenix over the weekend. And I was at that event and it's like I'd be like casually walking around or like just like on the bird scooters or whatever, like bloop bloop. And fans would see me and want to take pictures with me. And it's like, that's so awesome to me. Like that's a part of the reason why we get to work as hard as we get to work is because like we get to give love to the fans and the fans recognize us and the UFC appreciates that. It grows. Everybody gets to love and grow.
Are you a bit disappointed? Like the cards looks like it's gonna happen at the Apex. Are you a bit disappointed with that and you're not in front of the fans again?
I mean, yeah, like, man, like the pay-per-view cards, like that's where it's at. Like that's where I belong. But also it's okay. Like this is my third fight in the UFC. And, I'm just like slowly climbing the ranks. I mean, I think it would be different if I was like a ranked fighter and then like fighting at the Apex, but it's not like, yeah, like you got to earn your keep. I'm still earning my keep.
And your opponent, Jimmie, like how much do you know about her?
I mean, you have to give a lot of respect to a fellow champion in her own right of the division that she came from as well. So, she is from Invicta and she was doing really well over there in Invicta. So, but now, like, this is the UFC, she came from a 105 division. Like, man, I'm a pretty big 15er, so I know that she's a very good striker. I know that, she has a very good technical game and she works really hard. She's an intelligent fighter as well. So, yeah, I mean, I know a few things.
Do you think that size is going to play a big role in this one?
I mean, honestly, I feel like when we're all smaller fighters, like in a smaller division, like all of us are strawweights, but it's hard to find a lot of strawweights to work with. So generally we end up training with people who are much larger than us. So we are kind of used to a little bit more of like a strength kind of thing going back and forth. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like I'm the strongest strawweight in the division according to a lot of the numbers that have been tested. So I do kind of think that's going to play a role in this fight.
How do you think you match up against her? Because both you guys are really good grapplers.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna find out how we match up against each other, won't we?
I know you kind of always go for that finish, especially in your last ones. Like, are you just kind of hoping to build off that and just keep kind of stringing together these finishes?
I mean, that would be ideal, would it not? So, but also you never know where a fight's gonna play out. You don't know. Every opponent's gonna be different. So, I just have to. My job is to be well-rounded. And my job is to be a martial artist and an MMA fighter and understand that, anything could happen at any time.
She hasn't fought since July of last year. Like, that's almost a year off. Do you think that plays much of a role, like being off for close to a year?
It can, but she also had a scheduled bout that,
Mhm.
I mean, she went all the way leading up to a weight cut situation where her opponent ended up falling out. So it's not like she hasn't had full camps along the way. You know, and it's not like she hasn't trained. I mean, essentially, she got ready for an entire fight that never happened. So, like, she did a whole camp without taking any of the damage of an actual fight. So, I mean, she's like hasn't fought for a year, but it's not like she hasn't been training. So, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, she's just been sitting on the beach drinking
Mhm.
mimosas for a year. Like, that's not necessarily the case, even when you look at the fact that she hasn't fought for a whole year.
Who are kind of the main people you're working with for this one?
Well, my main training partner right now is Kyle Estrada, somebody who I've trained with forever, you know, like for years now. And we're right here in Phoenix, Arizona. I have Santino DeFranco as my head coach, Mr. Austin Adicha. You know, we have like Angel Cejudo for my wrestling coach. So I have a lot of really amazing people in my corner.
And you come from a really good gym. Like, how is that? Like, how cool is that seeing like champions and like all these big names kind of walk through the doors every day?
Yeah, it's pretty dang awesome. You know, like it really goes to show you like these people are traveling from all around the world just to train with my coaches. These are my coaches, you know,
Mhm.
like these are people that are right here in my backyard every single day. You know, like I get to train with them on a daily basis year round. So, yeah, it's pretty dang amazing.
How do you kind of see this fight playing out then?
Again, you know, like you don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Every opponent is different. You're just going to have to watch on June 25th and see what happens.
With the fight being at the Apex too, like a bit smaller of an octagon, do you think that plays much of a role in it?
Oh, absolutely, it does. You know, like you're talking about, and I mean, we're smaller people. Like I can't even imagine like the heavier weight classes. You
Mhm.
know, but I mean, a few inches in cage side makes a huge difference in how much room you have to play around before the cage kind of closes it on you. So yeah, it does make a huge difference.
Your last fight too, you showed off your grappling skills. Like, is there part of you that just wants to go right back to that, or do you kind of want to show off your striking for everyone as well?
I'm always showing off my
Yeah.
grappling skills. You know, I love my grappling skills. There's a reason why I got to earn my black belt. There's a reason why I get to travel around the entire world and fight jujitsu because I love it so much. So, but also I do have a striking background. Like I started striking before I ever did jujitsu. So, you know, you can definitely make sure that you can look forward to absolutely anything from someone like myself.
Do you think because of how good your jujitsu is, like people will overlook your striking and just be like, "Oh, she's just a grappler. Like you just got to keep her standing, and that's how you beat her."
Literally all the time. Yeah, that's almost everyone's game plan against me for sure.
Do you kind of like that then? How it's kind of like a hidden secret is your striking?
Oh, I mean, it shouldn't be a secret, but I mean, apparently it is. Like, you'll have people who are spending like their entire training camp just doing jujitsu, and it's like, oh, like I can strike too, you know?
Where do you think a win over Jin puts you in the division? It would be two in a row, especially if you finish her like two stoppage wins. Like, where do you think that kind of puts you?
I mean, I think that it definitely climbs me a little bit higher. I wouldn't say in the ranking, like I'm not in the rankings yet, you know, and she is 2-2 right now in the UFC. And this is really like, I love getting to walk in there and fight someone like herself. But I think that this would definitely open up the opportunity for me to be on bigger cards, you know, and like maybe start pushing away from the apex a little bit, or at least climbing higher on the card, which would be really awesome.
And especially with your personality and just your last fight, like I thought they'd want to get you in front of fans and like kind of experiencing that all the time.
Oh, yeah, it's okay, man. You know, like I'm just biding my time. Like I know what it takes to get there, so let's do the work. That's all that it is.
And I remember we talked after your last win, like the Columbus card. Were you a bit disappointed you weren't a part of that then?
Man, yeah, because like, you know, I'm from Cleveland. I started training in Columbus. Like that would have been really awesome for me to be a part of that card, but that's okay. That's okay. I still enjoyed it. It was a really awesome card. And that was a fight night too. That wasn't even a pay-per-view
Mm.
event. But I love how the UFC is starting to branch out now, even with their fight nights. Like I believe the week before our card that's at the Apex is also a fight night, and they're
Hmm.
going to be in Texas, you know, so they're starting to kind of get back out there in the open again, which is really awesome to see.
Just last thing, like what is kind of the goal for you then this year? Like this is already 2 fights before the end of June. So what is kind of the goal for you this year?
I love being active personally. Like that's like a thing for me. Like the reason why I get to fight in the UFC is because of all the things that I like doing, which is fighting, competing, being active, getting out there, training all the time. So I definitely look forward to maybe 2 more fights by the end of the year. So I am going on a vacation with my family for just like a short amount of time. But even like when I'm gone, like my family knows, like I'm running, like I'm doing my thing, you know? So because I just love being active. I would enjoy fighting 2 more times, maybe some jiu-jitsu competitions in between. I'm starting to do commentating now, so even that's like a fun activity for me to do on my off time of my camps.
Where's the vacation? I have to ask. I just love like traveling, going everywhere. So where's the vacation?
I'm going back home to Greece. So,
oh wow, I've never been. That's one place I really want to go to.
Yeah, it's amazingly gorgeous there. So I'm gonna make it in time for the islands. My family's going out sooner, but I was like, guys, like I can't take a full summer vacation, okay?
Mhm.
But like I can see you out there for 10 days, not a problem.
Well, Vanessa, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, be amazing. Have a great day.
Yeah.